Imagine ruling one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in New York. Not because you have the biggest army, not because you're the richest, but because everyone is terrified of what you'll do if they cross you. Now imagine sharing your streets with the most powerful mafia family in America. One wrong move, one hot-headed mistake, and an entire city could explode into war. That's exactly where the Westies begins. Inspired by one of New York's most feared Irish-American gangs, this series drops us into the brutal streets of Hell's Kitchen during the early 1980s, a time when organized crime wasn't hiding in the shadows. It was running construction sites, owning unions, buying politicians, and deciding who lived and who died. But unlike many gangster stories where enemies are easy to identify, the Westies is built on something much more dangerous: friendship, trust, family. Because sometimes the greatest threat doesn't come from your enemies, it comes from your own people. And by the end of just 2 episodes, everyone's loyalty will be questioned. So grab your drink, sit back, and let's break down one of the year's most intriguing crime dramas. Before we even meet the main characters, the series establishes one simple fact: Hell's Kitchen isn't just another neighborhood, it's valuable. Construction has begun on the massive Jacob Javits Convention Center, a project worth millions of dollars. To ordinary people, it's just another government development. To organized crime, it's a gold mine. Construction contracts, labor unions, kickbacks, protection money. Every brick being laid represents another opportunity to make illegal profits. The problem? This territory belongs to the Irish gang known as the Westies, but the money belongs to the Italian mafia. Instead of fighting over it, both sides have agreed to an uneasy partnership. On paper, it sounds peaceful. In reality, it's like placing a lit match beside a barrel of gasoline. One mistake, and everything burns. The opening immediately throws us into chaos. One of the Westies' own soldiers has gone completely rogue. Davy O'Brien has kidnapped Vinny, an important member of the Gambino crime family. Davy believes he can squeeze money out of him. To Davy, it's easy cash. To everyone else, it's a disaster waiting to happen. If Vinny dies, the Italians won't simply retaliate. They'll wipe out the entire Irish gang. That's when Eamon Sweeney arrives. And this moment tells us everything about who he is. Unlike the younger gang members who solve problems with fists and guns, Eamon thinks several moves ahead. He's not trying to win today's fight. He's trying to keep tomorrow's peace. Jimmy Roarke, Eamon's most trusted lieutenant, desperately tries to calm Davy down. For a brief moment, it actually looks like things might work. Davy lowers his weapon, the crisis appears over. Then, Eamon pulls the trigger. Davy dies instantly. It's a shocking moment because Eamon doesn't kill an enemy. He kills one of his own men. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but to send a message. Nobody threatens the fragile peace with the Italians. No exceptions. It's a brutal decision. But from Eamon's perspective, one death today prevents dozens tomorrow. At least that's what he believes. Afterward, Jimmy struggles to understand Eamon's choice. Unlike many gangsters in crime dramas, Jimmy isn't driven purely by greed or violence. He values loyalty. Davy was family. Watching him executed without hesitation plants the first seeds of doubt inside Jimmy's mind. Eamon explains his reasoning. The Westies are heavily outnumbered. If war breaks out with the Gambinos, they won't survive. Instead, Eamon has secured something much more valuable than pride: a share of the Javits Center project. This single construction deal could make the gang richer than every one of their criminal operations combined. It's a business decision. But Jimmy sees something else: a leader willing to sacrifice his own people. This difference in philosophy quietly becomes one of the show's most important conflicts. It's not just Irish versus Italian. It's the old generation versus the new. Survival versus loyalty. Word of Davy's death spreads quickly. Some members accept Eamon's decision, others don't. At Davy's funeral, the mood says everything. No one openly challenges Eamon, but nobody truly forgives him either. Jimmy delivers a heartfelt farewell, struggling to hide the anger building inside him. Meanwhile, Bridget, Jimmy's girlfriend, isn't nearly as restrained. She openly questions Eamon's actions. She never directly accuses him. She doesn't have to. Every sarcastic remark chips away at the respect Eamon once commanded. This is important because gangsters rarely fall because of outside enemies. They fall when their own people stop believing in them. And that's exactly what's beginning to happen. The cracks aren't visible yet, but they're spreading. Just when things couldn't become more unstable, another familiar face returns. Mickey Flanagan, freshly released from psychiatric treatment after serving in Vietnam. At first glance, Mickey seems like comic relief. He's loud, funny, charismatic, the kind of guy who can make everyone laugh in the middle of a funeral. But appearances are deceiving. The war has left deep emotional scars. His unpredictable behavior makes him one of the most dangerous people in the entire series. Not because he's evil, but because he doesn't always know where the line is anymore. And in organized crime, one impulsive decision can start a war. Unfortunately, that's exactly where the story is heading. The Westies have managed to avoid disaster, for now. But while Eamon is trying to hold together a fragile alliance, new threats are already emerging from every direction. An unstable soldier has returned, the FBI is about to enter the picture, and hidden beneath the streets of Hell's Kitchen, a far bigger conspiracy is beginning to take shape. But what happens next changes everything. With the uneasy truce already beginning to crack, the Westies find themselves surrounded by danger from every direction. Eamon is trying to keep the peace with the Gambinos, but every decision he makes creates new enemies within his own crew. Jimmy slowly begins questioning whether Eamon's leadership is built on wisdom or fear. That growing divide becomes one of the episode's most compelling storylines. Meanwhile, Mickey's return adds another layer of unpredictability. His traumatic experiences from Vietnam continue to affect his judgment, making him both sympathetic and incredibly dangerous. Every time he appears on screen, you feel like something terrible could happen. On the other side, John Gotti starts paying closer attention to the Irish gang. He's no fool, and it becomes clear that he isn't willing to accept easy explanations for the growing list of suspicious events. At the same time, Detective Glenn Keenan is caught between two worlds. Working with federal investigators while maintaining ties to his old neighborhood places him in an impossible position, where every choice comes with consequences. And just when the gang thinks it has bought itself some time, one impulsive act threatens to destroy everything. The second episode shifts from tension to full-blown damage control. The Westies desperately try to stay ahead of their enemies, but every attempt to cover their tracks creates even bigger problems. Instead of reducing suspicion, their actions only draw more attention from both law enforcement and the mafia. John Gotti quickly realizes that something doesn't add up. His instincts tell him the truth is being hidden, and he begins closing in with patience rather than brute force. Meanwhile, Keenan's double life becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. Every conversation with the FBI and every meeting with Eamon pushes him closer to making a choice that could change everyone's future. Bridget's separate storyline also becomes more significant, as her connections to the Irish Republican Army reveal that this series isn't just about organized crime. Political violence and international conflict are quietly moving toward the center of the story. By now, it's obvious that every character is carrying dangerous secrets, and secrets rarely stay buried for long. By the end of the two-episode premiere, the Westies makes one thing very clear. This isn't a story about who is strongest. It's a story about who survives. Eamon believes discipline and patience will protect the gang. Jimmy believes loyalty should come first. John Gotti believes weakness deserves punishment. And Keenan is trapped somewhere between justice and survival. The biggest theme of these opening episodes is trust. Every major character is forced to decide who they truly stand with, and those choices are already beginning to reshape the future. Another interesting detail is the Javits Center itself. It isn't just a construction project, it symbolizes power. Whoever controls the money controls the streets, and that's why every side is willing to risk everything. The premiere also hints that the biggest threats haven't fully arrived yet. The FBI investigation is only getting started. The Gambinos are becoming increasingly suspicious, and Bridget's IRA storyline suggests another major conflict is waiting just around the corner. Overall, the first two episodes successfully established the characters, the rivalries, and the stakes without revealing all of their cards. If the series continues building on these foundations, the conflict between the Westies, the Gambinos, and the FBI could become even more explosive in the episodes ahead.